The aircraft carried the final passengers of American World Airways. When the captain taxied to the gate for the last time, he wasn't parking an airplane. He was closing the coffin on 64 years of aviation history. The airline that pioneered international flight, that made the Boeing 747 happen, that was closer to an American flag carrier than any commercial airline has ever been, vanished in a single night. But this wasn't an accident. What started as scheduled mail flights between Key West and Havana became the definition of long-distance aviation. Juan Trippe, the airline's visionary leader, shaped every innovation the industry adopted. When Boeing designed the 747, the company's chief engineer Joe Sutter later said it would never have happened without Trippe's input. For decades, flying Pan Am meant flying on the best. The airline didn't just move passengers across oceans, it transported prestige. America had no flag carrier, so Pan Am became it. Then came October 1973. OAPEC declared an oil embargo. The price jumped from $3 a barrel to $12. In a single moment, the fuel that kept the global economy moving became scarce. Pan Am had just invested heavily in a fleet of 747s, huge, fuel-hungry aircraft that made sense when oil was cheap. They didn't have a quick way to swap them out. Their debt approached $1 billion. The airline that owned the sky was slowly suffocating. In 1978, the United States deregulated the airline industry. Suddenly, every carrier could fly any route. The system that had worked for decades collapsed overnight. Competitors with large domestic networks could feed passengers straight into international flights. Pan Am had no domestic feed. They were a long-distance carrier trying to survive in a world where feeder systems were everything. The airline needed a solution fast. The National Airlines acquisition didn't save Pan Am. It buried it deeper. The deal triggered a bidding war. Labor costs climbed. Integration proved catastrophic. Within 4 years, Pan Am had suspended most of National's routes and sold National's DC-10 fleet to American Airlines. They had paid $437 million to acquire what amounted to a liability. The debt kept growing. The strategy that was supposed to rescue the airline had instead accelerated its decline. 270 people died. The FAA issued fines for 19 security violations. But the real damage wasn't financial, it was psychological. American travelers, who had been Pan Am's core customer base, stopped flying international routes altogether. They chose other airlines they perceived as safer. Bookings collapsed, they never recovered. Passenger confidence, once lost, doesn't come back. On January 8, 1991, American World Airways filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. They had a plan: reinvent as a smaller carrier focused on Miami, sell high-value assets to Delta Airlines, including their transatlantic routes and the Northeast Shuttle. On November 1st, they relaunched. For 33 days, they tried to survive as something different, but losses persisted. The strategy failed. In the final weeks of November, Pan Am was hemorrhaging $3 million every single day. The Gulf War had collapsed international travel demand entirely. Delta Airlines, which had committed to financing Pan Am's survival, suddenly withdrew its support. The airline had about $30 million in cash and $2.7 billion in debt. Without funding, the new Pan Am couldn't function. Delta had the leverage. They walked away. The last flight was a Boeing 727 from Bridgetown, Barbados to Miami. Captain Mark Pyle, who had flown for Pan Am for over 20 years, was at the controls. When he touched down at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time and taxied to the gate, he parked the aircraft for the last time. 7,500 employees lost their jobs. The airline that had connected the world had closed its doors forever. In a single transaction, Delta acquired Pan Am's most valuable routes, landing slots at key European airports, experienced transatlantic staff, and millions of passenger records. No single event killed the airline. Every event added weight. When Delta walked away on December 2nd, Pan Am had exhausted every option and every dollar. On December 4th, 1991, one of aviation's greatest institutions ceased to exist. Creditors ultimately recovered cents on the dollar. An empire became inventory.